How do professional services firms generate qualified meetings? Turn your website visitors into a predictable pipeline.
If you run a professional services firm, a law practice, an accounting firm, a consulting shop, you already know the question. You don't have a lead problem. You have a qualified meeting problem. You get inquiries that go nowhere. You get referrals that arrive in good months and disappear in bad ones. You get expensive agency leads that look great in a report, but never make it to a real sales conversation. So let me give you the direct answer first. Professional services firms generate qualified meetings consistently when three things are in place: a sharply defined niche, a content engine that compounds trust over 12 to 18 months, an ICP-targeted outbound that doesn't feel like outbound. What stops most firms isn't budget. It's that no one in the firm owns the engine that produces those meetings. The managing partner is doing it on the side. The agency is executing tactics without strategy. And the result is a pipeline that swings with the seasons. For most firms doing $500,000 to $5 million in revenue, the fix is structural, and it's smaller and faster than you think. Now let me show you what each piece looks like. Let's start with the trap most firms are in. Roughly 70% of professional services firms generate the majority of their business from referrals. Referrals are a natural byproduct of doing good work, but they cannot form the foundation of a scalable growth strategy. You can't forecast them. You can't control them. They concentrate in your strongest relationships, which means when those people retire or change jobs, you lose pipeline you didn't know was load-bearing. When the economy tightens, your referrers tighten with it, and you suddenly discover you have no plan B. Meanwhile, the firms that are growing past you are doing something different. They've turned LinkedIn into a daily presence in front of your exact ideal client. They show up first in Google when someone searches best accountant for SaaS companies in Texas, or law firm for cross-border tax structures. They run outbound that gets opened because the message actually understands the prospect's business. None of that happens by accident, and none of it happens because someone is also doing 40 hours of client work. The reason referrals are failing you isn't that your work isn't good. It's that referrals were never designed to be a growth engine, and you're using them like one. A qualified meeting requires three things, and missing any one of them is what makes most professional services marketing waste money. The first is niche positioning. High-growth professional services firms are 3 times more likely to define their niche than no-growth firms. When your website says, "We serve businesses of all sizes across all industries," it doesn't say anything. It puts you in the same generic bucket as every competitor in your city, which forces you to compete on price instead of fit. The second is a trust engine, content, SEO, and thought leadership, built for a 12 to 18-month buying window. Professional services buyers do not move in days. They move when their next compliance deadline arrives, their next funding round closes, or their current advisor lets them down. Your job is to be visible across that entire window, not just at the moment of decision. The third is outbound that fits the trust posture. Cold spam from a stranger doesn't work in this category. Targeted LinkedIn from a named partner with an idea worth reading does. Of all the leads generated by B2B marketing, only about 12% convert to revenue, which means lead volume is almost never the problem. Quality of fit is. If you've hired an agency and felt let down, you're in good company. One managing partner of a 60-person tax and advisory firm put it like this: you pay a big marketing company $3,000 to $5,000 a month. They don't know anything about accounting. They make generic content, run ads that get people who aren't serious, and 3 months later, you've spent $15,000 and only gotten one new client. The numbers don't add up. This isn't because agencies are bad at execution. It's because most agencies were built to execute generic playbooks across many industries, and professional services isn't generic. AICPA Rule 502 is invisible to them. The fact that your buyers take 12 months to decide is invisible to them. The difference between a compliance prospect and an advisory prospect is invisible to them. So they apply the dental clinic playbook to your accounting firm, the personal injury playbook to your corporate law practice, and they wonder why the pipeline never moves. Hiring more execution against a missing strategy is one of the most expensive mistakes a managing partner can make. You don't need more hands. You need someone deciding what those hands should be doing. This is where almost every firm gets stuck. The engine has an owner-shaped hole. You, the managing partner, are doing it on weekends. Hiring a full-time chief marketing officer costs $300,000 a year all in and is wasted capacity on a 5 to 50-person firm. Hiring another agency, as we just saw, just stacks more execution onto a missing strategy. By 2025, almost 420,000 people on LinkedIn carried the title of Fractional Marketing Leader. And that growth isn't a fad, it's the market solving exactly this problem. A fractional CMO for professional services is a senior marketing leader who runs your strategy 10 to 20 hours a week. They define your niche. They design the trust engine. They manage the agencies and vendors, and they're accountable for pipeline, not posts. The numbers are clean. Fractional CMOs cost 50 to 75% less than a full-time CMO. Typical retainers run $8,000 to $15,000 a month. Firms that bring one in see an average 29% revenue growth rate, compared with 19% for firms without strategic marketing leadership. They get to market 48% faster on new service lines, and their internal teams become about 28% more productive because someone is finally pointing those teams at the right work. Let me leave you with the simplest test for whether this is the right move and how to start. In the first 30 days, define your niche. Pick 1 or 2 verticals where you already win: manufacturing clients, healthcare practices, SaaS companies, and rewrite your positioning so it speaks to that buyer specifically. In days 31 through 60, build the trust engine. Launch the SEO foundation that captures problem-aware searches. Stand up LinkedIn presence for your partners with content that solves a real client problem. Begin the asset library, case studies, frameworks, point of view pieces. Knowing this compounds over 12 to 18 months, not 12 to 18 weeks. In days 61 through 90, turn on outbound that matches the trust posture. ICP-targeted LinkedIn and email from named partners, not a generic AE. Measure pipeline-attributed meetings, not impression. Here's the recap. Qualified meetings are not a volume problem, and they're a fit problem. Fit comes from niche positioning, a trust engine, and disciplined outbound, all running together. Most firms don't have those because no one in the firm owns the engine. A fractional CMO is the fastest, lowest risk way to fill that gap. And for professional services firms doing $500,000 to $5 million in revenue, it is almost always the right next hire before a full-time CMO. If you're already doing the math at 11 at night, that's the gap ProGrowth's fractional CMO service for professional services is built to fill.